Next up, posting on blogs and forums. I'm going to focus on forums. Okay. Now, what's a forum? Well, this is what a forum looks like. And then this is the Warrior Forum. It's the biggest internet marketing forum on the internet. But there's forums for all your different industries. Okay. And a forum is just a big conversation where you can go on and say, you can go on the Warrior Forum and open a thread, right? A thread is a conversation. Okay. And you can open the thread with the title, how do I get more traffic to my website, right? Which is perfect for what we're talking about tonight. And then all the other people on the forum can go into that thread and say, well, I've got an idea. Why don't you try this, this, and this? And someone else says, well, why don't you try this, this, and this? And I've got this, and I've had trouble doing that. Next thing you know, there's this big conversation that's taking place on the thread that you started. Okay. Or you can go on a thread that someone else started and demonstrate your expertise in their conversation. So someone else says, how do I get more traffic to my website? You can go on there and say, hey, this guy I met the other day was telling me that you can publish articles. Right? And Eisner is a good website to do that on. You're demonstrating your expertise. And of all the things I've tested, forums don't get me the most traffic, but it's the fastest. I mean, you can go on, literally, you can go on, open an account, and put a couple of posts into threads, and you can have traffic within an hour. I mean, it's right away. It's instantaneous.
You're not allowed to put your own web page there.
Sure you can, and it would look something like this. So here's a little post that you can't read it, but don't worry about it. But at the bottom, I can put my little signature. It's just like an email signature. And I get to talk about what I do, and I get to put a link to my website. Sometimes you can put them on anchor text, sometimes you can't. Actually, Warrior Forum allows anchor text now, but they didn't at the time I got this screen capture. And it's by tactical execution. It tells me how many posts. It tells the readers how many posts I've put on. So, the number of posts you have is kind of a. And I was a newbie here. 127 posts is a very low number of posts. I mean, there's people who have like thousands of posts, right? And it's a measure of credibility in a sense, because it shows how active you are within the community. So if you have more posts, people will look at that comment more seriously than if you just have one or two posts. If you have one or two posts, you're nobody, right? Who cares what this person is saying? Okay. But again, you can demonstrate your expertise and put a front door to your website, and this is what it would look like. Okay, so let's just talk this out quickly. Again, 2 slides on this. Some people are looking to maximize the number of posts they have. Right? They want to have 1,000 posts. So they just put a bunch of dumb garbage onto these, these threads, one after another. You're just making a fool of yourself. So there's no sense posting to someone else's thread if you're not going to contribute value. So if you have some, it doesn't. By the way, this does not have to take a long time. Right? There was a while when I was testing forums where I allocated a half an hour a day for 100-day. I did this 100-day project where I had 100 minutes a day, in fact, and I had it split up. So I had a half an hour for this, 40 minutes for an article, and so on. And in the forums section, in a half an hour, I could usually put 5 or 6 or 7 posts into the forum. So it doesn't take long, right? For example, I can go into the forum and do a search for internet traffic, as an example. I mean, there were other things, but let's just say internet traffic. And it brings me all the threads that are talking about internet traffic. And I can just go into one after another and be like, okay, get an idea what they're talking about. Hey, why don't you try this website? It's a great resource. Boom, that's one done. Right, next one up. Right, see what they're talking about. I disagree with what you're saying here, but you can try it, but why don't you try this instead? Boom, done. That's the second one. And you're contributing little bits of value. Okay, and every time you do, you have one more front door to your website. Okay, and the traffic happens right away. And it does last for a while too, by the way. Like, in other words, when you stop posting, those posts are still on the Warrior Forum. I have hundreds of them, and I still get traffic now, and I haven't done anything on the Warrior Forum now in a few months. So there's some value here. All right. Create an enticing signature. Mine was not very enticing at the time I took that screen capture. But if you can write something, sticky, get people excited, that's going to help. Don't over promote yourself. I mean, it goes without saying. think of these people as sitting in a coffee shop. If you would go up to them and start blabbing on about how great your company is, then fine, go for it. But most of us wouldn't, so use that as a gauge.
What is, the signature is what? The name of the website?
The signature is just like on your email, you probably have an email signature. So every time you write an email, at the bottom of it, it says your name and maybe your phone number or your address or whatever. And you can do the same thing on these different forums. You can put a signature that talks about your website. So every time you post, that signature is going to be there. Okay?
I guess you go to properties or something.
Yeah, that's exactly. When you set up your account, it'll give you an option. There's a variety of things it's going to ask you for. It's different on every forum. They're all set up a little bit differently. Welcome. But you can. There's always going to be something there saying set up your signature. Okay. All right. You accumulate posts over time to build trust. Okay. Create your own insightful threads. That's a great. See here. Okay. So just right conceptually, stay with me. Right. You find a thread that's of interest to you. You open it up. What's the first thing you see? You see whatever the person who opened it wrote. Right. Because they're at the top. Then the first response is below them, and the second response is below them, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the 20th, and the 30th, and the 50th. Okay? But everyone sees that top part because it's the first one. That's the fast water. Right? You want to stay in the fast water. So if you're contributing to other people's threads, you're down number 15. So how many people are going to see that? Some will, and it does work, but not nearly as many as if you open the thread. Right? So there's some value in opening your own threads. Again, these are just stupid little tricks, but they work. Okay. Now, if you're going to open your own thread, you don't want to ask some obvious question like, how do I get website traffic to my website? Because then I just demonstrated how stupid I am, right? Which is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show people how smart I am. So some people refer to this as link bait. Okay. What I've done in the past is I've said, hey, I do this for a living. The title might be The Social Bookmarking Revolution, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And I'll say in the thread, I do this for a living, and I thought you guys might like this information. Here are the top 30 social bookmarking websites by their Alexa ranking along with their page rank. Now, don't worry about what those things mean. But the point is, I'm giving some real value. I mean, that's really cool. The reason I tell you is because that one thread was like my best thread by far. So I put this huge post together with all these things, and I listed the page rank and the Alexa ranking of all these 30 posts. Enjoy, everybody. Anyone else want to add some to the list, feel free. And I had that thing, people responded to that thing forever. And everyone saw it, and I got tons of traffic from that one post. So provide value. Start your own threads and provide value. If you learn something that's really cool, share it with your audience. Right? Don't have a scarcity mentality. Have an abundance mentality. Right? If you share your expertise, you look better. Yeah?
With newspaper advertisements, you have to repeat them a certain number of times before they'll work. Does the same thing apply here? That people need to see your name or something about you a certain number of times before they tend to possibly decide to make use of whatever it is you do?
Yeah, and the question is a good question. Some of you may have heard of the rule of 7, which 20 years ago was the rule of 5, right? So and the idea is that you have to see a marketing message 7 times before you really start to have any recollection of who that was, right, or even what the message came from. And the question was, is that the same on the internet? Not as much, not nearly as much. Because if there's a demonstration of expertise, like let's say I'm trying to figure out how to, again, I'll use the same example all night, how to get more traffic to my website. And some guy is on one of these forums saying, here's some great information, and it is great information. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And at the bottom it says, I've got a report on my website for the 58 things you can do to increase traffic on your website in 24 hours. I don't need to see that twice. I want that report. So if it's good, it's not nearly the same.